Hello name nerds, my name is Patrick and welcome to Fun with First Names, where each week we look into the meaning, origin and some extra fun facts behind one specific first name. And this week we're looking into the first name of Chelsea. But before we begin, I just want to remind you that we're trying to hit that goal of $700 a month on Patreon by the end of March. And you know what? Since I began this campaign of trying to get $700 a month, the world has changed quite drastically. Everything is way more expensive than it used to be. If you have to spend money, spend it on more important things. Spend it on food, spend it on electricity, because that's a lot more. Petrol, gas, whatever you call it. Don't worry about supporting Name It Spread on Patreon right now. If you want to, feel free to, but otherwise there's more important things to be spending your money on. Just yeah, thank you. But if we do hit $700 a month, I'm going to go film a video somewhere out in nature somewhere, I don't know, but it just feels a bit silly at the moment trying to ask you guys for money when there's much more important things you got to be spending your cash on. But it's there if you want to, if you can. And some people have been really awesome, and despite everything going on in the world right now, have become new patrons, especially since that week I took off. So I want to say a huge thank you to Ryan1Billion. I think it's a billion. I googled what's a 1 followed by 9 zeros and Google told me it was a billion. So Ryan1Billion, Laura Bagnall, Ty Lam and Viper Zhang. Thank you guys so much for becoming patrons, at least especially in the current global situation. Thank you all so much. Patreon.com/NamesPlayed if you want to, if you can afford to, but go buy something nice. Go treat yourself if you can afford to. You don't need to do that. Anyway, on with today's first name of Chelsea, and Chelsea is one of the many first names on our planet that derives from a part of the world. There are actually two famous Chelseas on our planet. Well, I actually imagine there's probably a few more, but there's two most known ones, and they're the most known ones because they're in two of the most famous, well-known cities in the world. There's a Chelsea in New York City and a Chelsea in London. The Chelsea in London is the original Chelsea, of course, and it's believed to come from Old English or Old Norse or Old Germanic roots, meaning chalk landing place. This is probably because the rock here was chalky, and it was a landing place for boats down the Thames, I imagine. Though we're not 100% sure that's what it means, that's what we most theorise it means, chalk landing place. It's weird that chalk is a rock, that sort of thing you draw on blackboards with, it's a rock. So is talcum. Do you know talcum powder's a rock? I always find that really strange, but they're kind of the same, I guess. New York's Chelsea isn't specifically named after London's Chelsea, it would seem. Instead, the Chelsea in New York is named after the Royal Hospital Chelsea in Chelsea, London. This isn't an actual hospital per se, but rather a retirement/care home for former British Army soldiers. So they're really famous. The Chelsea pensioners, I don't know how well known it is around the world, but they're kind of a big deal.
I'm kind of a big deal.
New York's Chelsea was named after this retirement home by one Thomas Clark. He bought 10 square blocks of land in Manhattan in 1715 and named it after this Royal Hospital Chelsea from Chelsea, London, in Chelsea, London. Why? I have no idea. Maybe he just liked it. Maybe he had relatives there. Maybe he was a saint of their patron there. I don't know, but he named it after the hospital, and that's how we end up with Chelsea in New York, as well as the Chelsea in London and the Royal Chelsea Hospital, clearly. But whatever the case, London's Chelsea and New York's Chelsea grew and grew. And what's interesting about both of these Chelseas is that they are both seen as being pretty affluent areas of their respective cities. New York's Chelsea is on the west side of Manhattan, and as like most of Manhattan these days, it's really fancy and well-to-do and creative and boho, all that sort of stuff. But London's Chelsea, oh boy, that's on another level. New York's Chelsea pales in comparison to London's Chelsea. London's Chelsea is so posh that New York's Chelsea is basically like a street urchin or something, trust me. Like Chelsea in London it's the place to be if you're posh, I suppose. It's pretty much seen as being the poshest part of all of London, even before the entirety of central London became worth millions and millions of pounds and became more or less somewhere exclusively for the wealthy. Chelsea was seen as being very, very, very well-to-do. There's even this concept of the Sloane Ranger, which is a play on words of Sloane Square, part of Chelsea, and the Lone Ranger. And a Sloane Ranger is seen as that being very upper-class, well-to-do, sort of fancy, posh person. Princess Diana is seen as the poster girl of the Sloane Ranger. You know, that very well-to-do, middle-class British person, the Sloane Ranger. It's a great pun. I like it. I find it funny. What I'm trying to say, basically, the long way around, is that Chelsea is a name very much associated with wealth and affluence. And this probably explains to us how this place name became a first name. When it comes to places becoming first names, people want nice places. You don't get you know, like, I'm trying to think of a rough part of London, but Croydon. Sorry anyone watching from Croydon, but Croydon hasn't become a first name for a very specific reason. Baby Croydon, come here. Like, Croydon doesn't have the same connotations Chelsea does, so it doesn't become a first name. I'm really sorry for anyone watching from Croydon. I've been to Croydon multiple times. I know people who live in Croydon. You're very lovely people. Really sorry for throwing you under the bridge with that one. But yeah, like, you can't deny Croydon and Chelsea have very different connotations with one another. The association of wealth and affluence that the place of Chelsea in London has makes it a really suitable candidate for a first name that your child can be associated with. Plus that other spelling variation of Chelsea spelt, let me just check here, Chelsey. I think I remember that, but I don't, it's literally one letter difference. But that spelling variation of the name just makes it sound much more like a first name. That sort of Chelsea, it sounds like Charlie or Stacey. It just makes it more like a first name, more legit. Chelsea really started to rise in popularity as a first name during the 70s and really peaked in the 90s, most likely because of one specific famous Chelsea who was around at that time. But after that, it just plummeted out of existence. It just isn't really much of a popular first name anymore. But why did this name just fall so quickly out of popularity? Well, I actually think it was a victim of its own poshness. As this name grew in popularity, it became very synonymous with a specific stereotype of person, that being the posh, affluent girl kind. Just that sort of well-to-do Sloane Ranger type thing, and it just became very much the posh girl name. And once that started to happen, the name kind of just drifted away. People didn't want that association with the posh, bratty sort of girl. Yeah, my name is Chelsea, yeah.
Why is everyone getting up on my grill?
It just became part of that, you know, Made in Chelsea, that TV show, that sort of angers people. I don't watch it myself, I'm sure it's very enjoyable. Not for me personally, but that kind of whole connotation just kind of nosedived the name. And don't even get me started on the stereotype of the football club of Chelsea. They very much have that stereotype of being wealthy, posh. And the less said on that, the better in this current climate. Yeah, let's just, like I said, let's not talk about that right now. Chelsea really cemented itself as that posh, toffee, Sloane Ranger kind of name, and that's, as always, that's really not fair. We talk about this all the time when we talk about names having certain images. That's not the case. There are tons of Chelseas out there who aren't posh or well-to-do toffee people, because that's just not toffees in the sweet, toffees in toff. That's I don't know if that has connotation outside of Britain. I don't know. I don't know, but like Chelsea, not every Chelsea is like that. As always, guys, let's not judge people by their names. In the USA, Chelsea is currently the 646th most popular girls' name. So like I said, really not massively popular. Sitting in the top 1,000, however, and actually, despite Chelsea London being the more well-known Chelsea, well, yes, because I'm a Brit and a Chelsea supporter kind of, but you know, I'm a Chelsea supporter, but it's a whole thing right now. Because of that, I associate the country, the name more with England, but it's actually more popular in America. I actually do kind of associate this name more with America. It's like, oh my God, Chelsea, that kind of, it just has that more like American resonance with me. But that's me anyway. Here in the UK, it's the 843rd most popular girls' name. So like I said, despite Chelsea being perhaps more well-known in London, it's a more popular name in America. Famous Chelseas, of course, include Chelsea Clinton, who was like the poster girl of the 90s. She was Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton's daughter. She still is their daughter. I don't think she's left them for any reason, but she's an author in her own right, political activist. Chelsea Clinton, very, very affluent, well-known Chelsea, perhaps the most well-known human Chelsea, minus football clubs or pensioners. I guess the pensioners are humans. You get the idea. There's of course the great Chelsea Peretti too from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but she's also a terrific comedian in her own right. Go watch some of her stand-up. I think there's some on YouTube. She's really funny. And while I don't highlight a wrestler for every name these days, I couldn't not mention Chelsea Green. She's a terrific pro wrestler, the hot mess gimmick back in TNA. I think she's in other parts of the wrestling industry as well. Great stuff. Go watch some of her matches. But anyway, that's just about enough on the name Chelsea. But what are your thoughts on this name? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Do you know anyone with the name Chelsea? Are you called Chelsea yourself? Let me know down in the comments below. And of course, I just want to share some of the thoughts you guys had on last week's name of Andrew. Fragkonianis Savas, and apologies about pronunciation there, said, as a native Greek speaker, having taught ancient Greek for 12 years, I would translate Andrew as manly and not man, as the name comes from the acoustic form of the word ana, like I said, apologies about pronunciation here. The strong meaning is just BS. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. So thank you very much for sharing, especially as someone who teaches ancient Greek. Well, that's amazing. How different is teaching ancient Greek to modern Greek? I really want to know that. That's amazing. What a great insight to have. Thank you very much, Fragkoyanis. Once again, huge apologies about pronunciation, but I'm just a terrible person. Sorry. Usbo said, I would think Adam surpasses Andrew for man. Now, that does make sense. It's of course a reference to Adam, the first man in the Bible. That makes all the sense in the world. But Andrew, I don't think Adam means man. I don't know what Adam means. I haven't done Adam yet. Even names I have done, I don't know what they mean. This information just goes in one ear and out the other. Like, I didn't hold on to this information, I'm afraid. A little behind the scenes treat for you. But I'll probably forget what Andrew means. I'll probably forget what Chelsea means after this video is done recording. So yeah, but whatever Adam means, let me know down below. So I don't have to do the video, or maybe I will one day. And WKW said, Patrick, did you figure out the charming and handsome Prince Andrew? We don't talk about Andrew. No. We don't talk about Andrew. Go suggest some names down in the comments below and I'll pick 3 of those to be put into a poll exclusively for my patrons to vote on to decide the next Fun with First Names video. So if you enjoy the channel, want to help support it and have a say in what names get explained, like I said, do consider becoming a patron. It's not the highest priority right now. Look after yourselves, guys. If you do, by any chance, after paying £12 billion for electricity and 50,000 billion pounds for gas, if you do have a spare pound or dollar going, maybe do consider putting it to Name Explain, but go buy yourself something instead right now. Don't worry about that. And if we do hit it, that's cool, I guess. But thank you. Links down below if you want to and if you can. But anyway, that's just about enough from myself. Don't forget to go follow me on Instagram where I'm Name Explain YT, and don't forget to go join the Facebook group Friends of Name Explain. Okay guys, take care. What am I trying to do? Yeah. First names in our, and both of these two, look, the London and Chelsea. Again, Chelsea's London. Well, I'm gonna cut it. The association, and don't even get me started on the Football Club of Chelsea. Look, in the US, no, I don't have that up here. The Dun Dance.